Good afternoon, fellow carp fishing type individuals. Now, I am going to get into something that has been kind of weighing on my mind for a while, and that is the subject of leader line. Now, I exclusively use lighter braid on my current carp rod. The carp rod that I have is a 8-foot 3-piece extra magnum heavy rod with a stout parabolic bend and a huge backbone section. It has a 2.5-foot cork handle, a skeletonized aluminum reel seat. It is a phenomenal rod, but I have a 3000 size essentially bass reel on it. Now, the reel that I'm using is a Revros from Daiwa, which I've had plenty of Revroses. I've had like 5 Revros models. I've done a lot of Daiwa reels. I love them, but a lot of times I will upgrade or I will try a different one and give a previous one away or sell it. The Revros is one series that I've never been disappointed by. The fact that it is under $100, frankly, is amazing. Their drag is infinitely adjustable, but the thing with the Revros is that it's actually kind of a hindrance for it to be as adjustable as it is, because the drags on Daiwas are so smooth and buttery that even if you fully lock it down, a lot of times if a carp is big enough, it can still pull it. It's not really a carp drag. So went ahead and bit the bullet, ordered a Akuma Avenger 8000 size bait runner, which is a very robustly built bait runner, by the way. The bait runner drag is actually very well built and still smooth. So that will be going on a different rod than the one I have. I'm going to keep the 3000 on there for a while. I'll probably get another bait feeder for it, honestly. I don't know that I will ever get a quick drag. I may possibly. It depends on how European tackle I go. I think a bait feeder works just fine for most of the pond work, and I have not gotten in the above 30-pound class. I have come pretty close a couple times, but it has been 7-8 years since I got a 40-plus pound carp. It was a common, and it was out of the Dobson Library pond, ironically on a piece or two of corn, very close to the shoreline. Dragged me the hell out. This really cool guy that was fishing next to me actually took all of his shit out of his pants, dove in the water to grab the carp because they didn't have a net. I was going for bluegill. It was on the ultralight, which made it even worse. But I ended up managing it, and I got a picture of it, and that phone that picture was on got corrupted, so now I have no photo evidence of that, and it's been years. But I have the memory of it, and we all have those. We all have those where we don't have photo evidence. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. But on the 8000 size, I'm pretty sure that I'm only going to go up to 30-pound braid, and I'm probably going to stick in that 12 to 14-pound copolymer range. Now, actually getting to the point, since I've wasted 4 minutes of your time, the monofilament that I have right now, it is a copolymer from Sufix. Don't remember the actual designation of it, but it is Sufix. It is a copolymer. It is 14-pound. I got 1,100 yards of it. I do anywhere from 18 to 32 foot of leader at a time. And the reason I do that is a couple-fold. It makes casting easier in some circumstances, especially with things like straight bread. It is also a way for me to be able to change a rig and not lose a lot of leader. That being said, this line has some very distinct advantages, but it has one major disadvantage that I will get to toward the end. This stuff is not very thick for being 14 pound. but it definitely acts like it's thicker. It is extremely abrasion resistant. I got into a 18 plus in Layton Lakes with this line, and the carp took me along a concrete ridge that was at the bottom, and I could feel it transferred to the rod, and it was definitely concrete. I've been pulled into weeds and stuff. This was straight concrete. I've got a long history on these ponds. It's not hard to tell. Long story short, about 4 foot of my leader was shredded, like to the point where it was like squared off on one side, and it still brought that carp in. Now, when I looked at it later on, it was pretty close to breaking, but it was a carp that was well above the rating on this line, the 14-pound rating. Sufix lines always give very conservative ratings for their line. 14-pound does not do this justice. The strength of this line is more in that 20 to 25-pound range. It really is. It has very little stretch, and it's just insanely strong. So I'm continuing to use it, but I'm definitely going to look into alternative copolymers. I won't go straight fluoro on a carp rod. I just won't do it because fluorocarbon shreds a lot easier than copolymers and monofilaments. But I also don't want to go such a high diameter on either a mono or a copolymer that they see it really easily. And this is a transparent line, so it's really hard to see once it's in the water. I don't do the high vis on my braid. It's just straight the olive drab green, I guess they call it. Because a lot of the Arizona ponds and lakes, it matches the bottom really well, so they really don't see it. The other thing with the copolymer is that it's enough of a floating or neutral buoyancy line that if I throw bread and I want it to sit on the top, it will sit. Even when it soaks, it'll still sit on the top. But if I fold it, it'll still drop. I don't put any weight on my bread rig unless I'm going really, really deep, because I want it to fall slow, because a lot of times commons and mirrors will see it and they will get it while it's falling through the column. And it's one of the reasons I get hit as much as I do because of that. So it works pretty well for that. If I was wanting to be strictly on the bottom, I would get some of the lead putty and I would use it, or I would use split shots like I do for other things, which I have them and I do every now and then. And it also is dependent on, what the carp are doing. If I know they're staying primarily on the bottom, I'll put a couple small split shots on it and I'll let it sink down quicker. But I fish Layton Lakes a lot, and I actually like it better than Crystal Gardens, honestly, because one, it's 10 minutes from my house, not almost an hour. So I get the same size, same class, same type of carp. I have gotten into flatheads in there. I've gotten into channel cats in there. I had not been there for like 5-6 years. And somebody said, "Hey, have you been back to Layton lately? They don't have guards anymore," because they used to. And I'm like, "No, I haven't been there in quite some time." I'm like, "Dude, you've got to go back there." And then that was reaffirmed also when I talked to David Schaefer, and he's like, "Yeah, they're very consistent." And he made a post on some of the mirrors and the comments he had gotten. So I was enticed to go back. It's been like a month now. I gotta tell you, I've wasted a third of a tank of gas just going back and forth in the last 2 weeks. Just going back and forth from Layton and home alone. And I have no regrets. I really don't. But here comes the sole reason why I am looking to change this line. I will probably give this away, honestly. It handles like shit. It is, outside of Walmart brand, the worst handling line I've ever used. I thought Berkeley Big Game was shit line to work with in heavier sizes. Oh no, this one is by a landslide, and especially with a longer leader. And I use a lot of unweighted or lightly weighted rigs, so it's much more of a factor. I mean, if you got a 2-ounce method feeder on it, obviously it's not going to be the same kind of problem. And I would get away with using this line a lot more in that case, but I'm not doing that. In fact, if I did use a method feeder, it would be one of those, 1/2 to 1 ounce single-sided ones that you press the bait on and put a pop-up on. Or I would use a PVA bag. So I wouldn't be working with the same amount of weight that some people do. I like to ultralight everything I do in life when it comes to fishing. That's how I do it. It coils up at every opportunity. If I cast a short distance, because my leader right now is 32 foot. I'm not gonna lie, it's a long fucking leader. And even after re-rigging once yesterday, it's still 29. So it's a long leader. I cast 10 foot and clip the bail, and it's still around the reel flared out. And then I end up having to pull it out, and it does it like that all the fucking time. All the fucking time. It coils around the rod. If you don't have any weight on it, right around the tip, it'll go a good 10 fucking inches back up the rod. And then I'm sitting there pulling my rod back and fishing it off the fucking end of the rod. It is a fucking pain in the ass to use. However, it is strong as shit, and it is so abrasion resistant, folks. It is amazing how well this line performs when it comes to getting a fish in. And if you only had, a 4 to 8 foot leader, you wouldn't have the same problematicness you would having a longer leader like mine. So take it for what it is. Like I said, I don't remember what the actual series of this is. I mean, I pulled the tag so I could roll it off on a master spooling jig. I think it's triple something fiber something. It's some weird ass thing, but I mean, it was 1,100 yards and it was $19 on eBay. I couldn't ignore it. And I've used Sufix in the past to good effect. I used to have a medium heavy ducket bait caster with a stupid expensive Shimano, and I used 20-pound flat white Sufix 832 braid, which is a great braid, by the way, but barbaric compared to today's braids. I know they've improved the formula since I've used it, because that was like 2013 to 2016 I was using that. It's been quite a while. It was brilliant. It gave me no issues. But this line for handling fucking sucks. Strength-wise, abrasion resistance all day long. If you're doing anything over an ounce of weight, it would be just fine. So if you're looking for a precision performance monofilament, is what they call it. It's actually a copolymer monofilament. It is a coated line, basically. And you're using weight, you really can't go wrong. Sufix brand is good stuff. I know there's people that are very brand specific in what they use. On my bass and my bass stuff exclusively, I use Daiwa J Braid and J Fluoro. I do not use monofilament on my bass rigs ever, unless it's a heavy cover rig, and I have not used one of those for over a year. So I'm considering going primarily carp, and keeping my other rigs but staying in the vein of carp. It's very important to have suppleness in your leader line, and that's the big point of contention that I have for this line, is that it handles horrifically. And the only reason I use it is because of the fact that I literally had a damn near 20-pound common carp shred 4 foot of that line, and it was flattened on one side, and it still got it in, and its weight factor for break strength is way higher than what it says. That's really the only two reasons. If it was not for those caveats, I would not use this line. I would have thrown it in the trash a long time ago. So I just figured I'd say my piece about it. Sufix is a great brand. I hate the line, but I love the line. It's just like, well, it's like being married to a redhead. You know, sometimes they're going to be great and sometimes they're going to fucking suck, because they're fucking nuts. It's the same thing in the line. It really is. There's a lot of parallels there. I won't get into that and how I know. But yeah, and a little bit more. Another factor that I probably should mention is the recovery from the shock factor of being hit. Braid does not stretch, and 20-pound, even though it's not that high a strength, its actual break strength is fairly high. With this material, I end up usually going ahead and looping it and putting the braid through it up toward the top of my hand and doing a Alberto. With the 14-pound and the 20-pound braid, I do 5 and 5 for a total of 10. I try to make the size of it fairly minimal. It's a very strong connection. I have not had it pop at the connection yet on its own accord. I did have one rogue tilapia that was massive, by the way, again in latent legs. They are in there. Absolutely crush it on a concrete piece, and it shredded it to the side, and it cut the braid essentially. This stuff, it wouldn't have broken, it would have gotten the fish in. So it has some of the monofilament stretch, but because it's coated, it's a little stiffer, so it shocks in the hook set pretty good. It really doesn't have a whole lot of give. So if you're going to use Sufix copolymers or even Izor, it's kind of the same. The handling on Izor is better, by the way, though. It's much more supple. You really want to make sure you have a rod that has a really good back bump and has some parabolic to it, so you can actually pull into the hook set as opposed to just yanking on them. I don't like yanking on a carp in the first place, but they're so explosively powerful that they do it on their own a lot, actually, especially with bread. Good Lord, do they smack the hell out of bread ferociously, man. And a lot of it I've noticed, like I've had a couple of times where the shore has been shallow enough and clear enough that I can see them actually hitting the bread. As much as you compress the bread on, it'll start to mushroom out and soak up and get fluffy. And they love that shit, man. They will suck that stuff up like they're sucking stuff out of a PVA bag. They go fucking ape. And it works great. But anyway, I'm rambling. I'm keeping going. So just wanted to say some stuff about the Sufix.